Okay, so like a new horse that doesn't know anything. That's Hunter. You know, I would introduce myself, obviously. I tend to look for thank you spots, which are my reward spots. So if he has an itchy area that he might appreciate me scratching him. And then, of course, I look for don't touch me spots, which are obviously spots where they'll tell you, I'd prefer you don't do that. I check the withers to see if there's one there, because was he ever raced? He wasn't a racehorse? Okay. Because often their withers, ex-race horses have wither issues, but he didn't indicate any wither issue. So I'm going to try to communicate to his feet by asking these two front feet to do something specific. And I'm going to ask the one closest to me to cross over the front of the one farther away, or I'm going to ask him to cross it behind. Whichever happens, I don't care. But I'm going to try to communicate to him that it's one step and it's not a walk away. I'm just going to get in his way and ask him to do it. And I'm looking for the crossover, although he did that nice, and I'm fine with that actually. And by stopping and giving him that thing to look for, which is the calm, he's going to learn very quickly that when he gets the calm, that's the answer that I was looking for. So I'm going to, again, I'm active now, going to ask him to do something specific, then I'm going to go calm. If I stayed alive, if I stayed active, I can't do it with him because he doesn't know yet. But if I stayed alive, stayed active, it would mean I haven't wanted you to stop moving your feet yet. So I could ask him to walk completely around his hind legs if I wanted to, but right now he's not at that point. Good. That was beautiful. Good boy.
He's like, oh, did you cross over? Let me show you cross over.
Right, and now he just licked and chewed, so I'm going to leave him alone on that.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
So the licking and chewing, he is relaxed process?
Yeah, it basically means that he's kind of processed something that just happened. And there's some horses that I'll wait a long time for that, because sometimes they're very focused on other things, like he saw somebody walking over there and took his focus over there. So like say he hadn't licked and chewed first, I would wait for that, knowing that the distraction also distracted his process. And I would have waited for it just so that he had a chance to tell me that he understood something. So when I cross in front of a horse, I put my hand on their nose, because when I walk away, I would he doesn't know anything, so I can't make him wrong for not coming with me. But I would expect a horse, if I stop, they should stop. If I walk, they should walk, and it should never be a delay in that. It should be like you see them out in the field together. So if I expect him to do that every time I step forward, then the only way I can be polite to him is say, if I want to cross over, is I say, wait, and I put my hand on their nose. I say, wait, and then I cross over. So this way I gave him the language to understand that I wasn't asking him to follow me. Because if he followed me and I was so focused on getting just to the other side of him, then that would have been mean for me to say, hey, no, don't go, because he was doing his job. So I'm going to ask him to cross his front feet over this direction now. I'm just going to wait on him. I don't get pushing. I'll continue to get in his space, but I'm just going to wait on him. I'm not actually pushing. See, I'm very flexible. I'm not pushing. And I'm just going to ask him, and all I'm doing is, I'm not going to let him come back, because tilting the head is part of it, and then I'm going to release. Good. Yeah. I'll ask for another one. Horses do one of two things. They yield to or push against pressure. So I'm asking him to yield from this pressure. Good. Good. Yep. So, I wouldn't drill hard on that, to give him just the taste of it. So now I'm going to ask him to yield his hind legs, and I want his hind legs to cross each other. So when their hind legs shuffle, it's like keeping the car in gear, but taking your foot off the gas. They still have the ability to take off. But when you cross their legs, it's like putting them in neutral. So I always want to put him in neutral so that if he were to suddenly get panicked, he can't really run off again because he's going to trip over his own legs. So it's part of the one rein stop is what it eventually will be, but it's helping him learn it now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tip his head slightly because I don't want him to kick me, and he could cow kick me if his head was tilted the other way. And then I'm going to go ahead and wait until he crosses. See how he's shuffling? That was a good one there. There. Oh, that was a little telling. Yep. Yeah, he's been offering the ears, but he's not really being very, snotty. Good. So again, that doesn't count. That doesn't count there. Good. So he already offered me this side of him, so I'm going to come over here and do the same thing. So now he's assuming. So what I would do is I would just keep waiting until he stops moving. Because he's assuming what I'm going to ask for. Now I'm going to ask for it. So it has to be because I asked for it, not because he made the assumption that I'm going to ask for it. That's a rhythmic yield, so he's still shuffling there.
You're mad, huh?
So again, I'm going to bring him around. He's assuming, so I'm not until there. Then I'm going to ask. That's not really good enough. That was somewhat of a cross, and there. So I'm not going to rub his head this time because he's not accepting that as a reward. By rubbing their head, if you want to reward them, you want to reward them. You don't want to do something that they also don't like, because then that's not much of a reward. They're not going to do anything for you because they know what's coming next. Good. So now what I would do is I would do rhythmic cues, which is pushing air, not trying to touch them. So I'm going to ask him to do the exact same things, but I'm going to ask him from asking by pushing air. So like imagine that I have a yoga ball and I'm bouncing it on his head or on his neck here, and I'm asking him to cross his feet over. And I'm going to keep asking him until he does. I'm not going to get any louder or any bigger. I'm just going to be persistent. And now when I physically was able to touch him, my rhythm stayed. I didn't then get there and start pushing to manipulate him. I wanted him to respond to the energy, which is way out here first. So he can respond to the energy or wait for me to touch him. Yeah, you're right. Yep. So now I'll start incorporating my yeps, my nopes, and that helps them kind of know, like, as a reinforcement that you got the right answer or you're on the right thought process. So I give very few actual verbal assurances for them, but that's one of them. So if he were to shift suddenly, I would say, yep, but he didn't. So now I would, yep. Good. Yep. Good. Good boy. So now I'm going to go across. Ask him to cross his feet this way. So everything you teach them on one side of their body, you have to teach them on the other side of their body because it's brand new. It's kind of like it's like they have two personalities or something. So it's brand new that I'm over here. So he has no recollection of having learned anything that means something like this. Well, they do the whole left side, right side brain. Good. Good. So he's actually proving to be smarter on this side of his body right now. He processes information better on this side. I know. Okay, so now the hindquarters, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to describe it first, is I'm going to look as if I saw a butterfly land in his tail, but I don't want to go all the way around and look at his tail from behind him. So I'm going to try to look around him to see if I can see the butterfly. Step out, and then I'm going to have the end of the line in my hand. I'm going to extend it probably about 14 inches, and I'm just going to raise my hand out as support. And then my support will start to turn into energy. And then the energy will gradually get closer and closer to him if he doesn't respond. If he responds and yields his hindquarters, then I'm not going to do any of the other stuff because I only get as loud as I have to, but I try to be as quiet as I can. So I'm going to go ahead and step out here and ask him if he's got a butterfly in his tail, which he kind of protected himself a little bit, which give it to him. But now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to start bringing some energy out here. And then quit. Again, brings everything back to calm.
So you were just looking at his tail or his feet?
I was looking at his tail. I physically look at his feet, but the cue he's going to learn is me tilting my head as if I'm trying to look around him. And it would be the other side, so depending on which side, so that they always know which way to yield too. So I'm going to go ahead and, again, the first cue is cue I want him to respond to. Then I'm going to come out here and start asking him to do something with that energy. They said I can scratch you because I know you don't want it on. How about your nose? Not so bad? Okay. Good. So then I would do this other side now. Good. There. Good. So that time I had to take the energy to where I physically touched. How did they end up? Does that paddock go to this side? Does that paddock go to this side? Yeah. Oh, because I'm like, how are they over there now? Gotcha. That was Hunter, by the way. Good. Good. Yeah, I'm just going to teach the backup, and that's the last thing I'm going to teach him. Good boy. Okay, so I'm going to give him energy here and see if that's enough to tell him to back up. Then I'm going to kind of get in his space like I suggest you back up. I really am suggesting you back up there. And again, I go quiet. Therefore, he can look for the calm. Calm is the answer. Ask again. He's like, I am not sure what that was all about. Good job. Good job. little communication back. Good job. Now for that, I would wait for the lick and chew. Because I was being dominant to him. He had a little communication back, like, I don't know who you think you are. But he wasn't willing to be aggressive towards me. But I want him to realize that that's all I was going to do. And how he'll tell me that he gets it is he'll lick and chew. So the distraction has caused a delay in that. So I'm going to ask for one more step back. Okay. Oh, we got it in there?